hours to see Zambia's relationship drama. No power? No problem. Watch the repeats of your favorite series every day on Novella E+ or download the StarTimes own app and link your decoder to continue watching for free. So what are you waiting for? Pay 180 kwacha now. Top Star. Value for your money.
It's exactly 18:30 hours on Millennium TV. You're welcome to the Millennium TV main news. We take a look at stories making headlines. President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA boasts of Zambia being a land-linked country. FRA buys over 40,000 bags of white maize in this year's crop marketing season. Poultry Association of Zambia predicts rise of feed prices, and former President EDGAR LUNGU bemoans Zambia's political atmosphere. Patriotic Front Secretary General RAPHEAL NAKACHINDA has been granted bail. In international news, polls open in South Africa's high-stakes election, and in sports, KALABA confers with FAR's chief. Details coming up after this break.
Baby sunganileke, baby sunganileke, ona kwa mena tachokela sunganileke, nisibani masaba pena, bati sunganileke, vela njota kumutima. Oh, iweka frutikana, iwe na nevi endela na nisimu na fono.
It was all in my head. Frutikana zona.
Frutikana. Feel the rhythm.
With the news in detail, my name is Lovisa Chilufia. President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA says the narrative that Zambia is a landlocked country is no longer an ideal in the New Dawn government, as it is now a land-linked country with a number of economic opportunities. The head of state says Zambia borders with 9 African countries, and this means that it has a lot of economic activities to tap in. Speaking during the official opening of the 2024 Copperbelt Mining, Agriculture and Industrial Trade Expo in Kitwe today, President HICHILEMA says that these opportunities will enable economic growth. And Mr. HICHILEMA says Zambia has a lot of transport corridors which are critical to the country's economic growth.
As we have these workshops, these seminars around here, that's what we should be talking about. Delivering high-quality projects at the right price on time. Then we can support the agriculture sector, the mining sector, industrial sector, and Nafimbi Fiashala. Mr. Chairman, I'm passionate about this country and its prospects and the benefits to the people. But remember, no social benefits without economic success. Simple. It's as simple as that. Diversification is important, Mr. Chairman. Mining is called a wasting resource. You all know what that means. But let's use the revenues from mining to invest in other sectors, parallel and sequentially. Very important. Value addition is crucial to our country. I'm very delighted that when we were at 28 Shaft yesterday with CNMC, we are talking about more value addition from our minerals. More cables made here, including armored cables. Zamefa and those that are coming Minister of Mines, we have agreed, must access the local market metal here. They must access the copper and other inputs here. They don't have to go through London Metal Stock Exchange.
And Copperbelt Shore Society Chairperson London Mafulilwa says that when the business community and the government work together, there will be meaningful economic growth in the country.
Restarting the expo last year was one of our greatest challenges. We are grateful to all those that supported the reignition of this expo. This shows that if we work together as a business community with government, we are able to achieve a lot more for our country and also improve the economy and the well-being of our people. Mr. President, visitors to the show do not pay to enter this exhibition. There is no charge at the gate. Neither do they pay to enter the seminars.
The Food Reserve Agency, FRA, has purchased over 42,520 by 50 kilogram bags of non-genetically modified white maize as at May 26, 2024. The purchase recorded is under a special maize mopping exercise. FRA Public Relations Coordinator John Chipandwe says that the mopping up of maize is supplementing other efforts aimed at replenishing national strategic food reserves. Mr. Chipandwe says that the intervention is among several other measures that government through FRA has put in place aimed at replenishing national strategic food reserves. He said that the agency is encouraging members of the public with white maize to deliver the stock to the nearest FRA main depot as the program is still ongoing.
As of 26th of May 2024, the Food Reserve Agency purchased a total of 42,520 by 50 kilogram bags of non-genetically modified grade A white maize from its various main holding depots countrywide. The purchase recorded is under a special maize mopping exercise, where FRA is running an advert inviting anyone with maize to sell to FRA by delivering the stock to the nearest main depot. This program is supplementing other efforts that are aimed at replenishing national strategic food reserves for sustained national food security. This intervention is among several other measures that government through the Ministry of Agriculture and the Food Reserve Agency has put in place in efforts aimed at restocking the national strategic food reserves. Currently, the agency is encouraging any member of the public with white maize to deliver the stock to the nearest main depot countrywide as the program is still ongoing, and a bag of maize 50 kilogram bag of maize is being bought at 330 kwacha or 6,000.
Poultry Association of Zambia, PAZ, says the price of feed on the local market is likely to increase in the next few months. But Association Executive Director Dominic Chanda has assured farmers that they will not experience any shortages of the commodity. Speaking in an interview with Millennium TV News, Mr. Chanda explains that the association will continue working closely with government and other stakeholders to ensure availability of the commodity. Mr. Chanda, however, states that government has allowed the importation of maize, of which the poultry industry will benefit 300,000 metric tons of yellow maize for the production of animal feed. He says that this measure will ensure availability of the commodity on the market.
We are not likely to see any shortages because we are working as an industry together with the government and other stakeholders to ensure that we have all the raw materials that are required. And I'm sure you're aware that government has allowed importation of maize, the unlimited quantities to come into this country, and the poultry industry itself has been given 300,000 metric tons of yellow maize to be imported. The only question that we can ask is, will the prices of feed stay the same? Definitely no. When you look at the landing price of a ton, maybe say for example from Tanzania into Lusaka, it's sitting roughly about almost $420 a ton. What is our price in the domestic market? Even if we have limited resources, limited available maize, it should be sitting close to about maybe say 360. Yeah, so this is the reason why the price might not be able to change, not until we exhaust what we have, and then we start now depending on the imported maize. Definitely when that starts landing, you might see these adjustments here and there, but it is also dependent on the company, because there are some companies that virtually have nothing. They have got hand to mouth. Whatever they can find on the market, they use it in the production feed. So their cost will be fractional.
The Economic Association of Zambia, EAZ, says the consent solicitation issued to Eurobond holders on the May 13th to 2024 is a critical step in arriving at the current Eurobond restructuring deal. Association President Oswald Mongule says that the EAZ therefore commends the government's unwavering efforts in navigating this debt sustainability and macroeconomic stability path. Dr. Mongule says, however, this is just a beginning to improving the sovereign risk, which is still high. He says the sovereign risk is an impediment to rapid economic growth and development, since risk-averse investors have been reluctant to invest large amounts of capital in the Zambian economy. Dr. Mongule says as a result, Zambia's balance sheet still remains very small. He also said implicitly the country's net worth remains small, and this drives out good investors from the economy. And now former Republican President Edgar Lungu says the current political happenings in Zambia are confirming that there is completely abandoning of the rule of law, respect for human rights and constitutional democracy. Mr. Lungu says the country was on May 25, 2024 engulfed with the abduction of Petauke Central Member of Parliament Emmanuel J. Banda, and he and others tried to seek answers and solace from Zambia police. The state decided to discharge riot police to throw tear gas canisters. The former president says that this is a mark of state brutality on peaceful citizens. Mr. Lungu says, sadly, as different stakeholders responded in anger and anguish to the abduction and disappearance of Mr. Banda, Zambia police speedily arrested and detained human rights activist Brebna Changala, FDD President Edith Nawaki, Lumezi Member of Parliament Honorable Munia Zulu, and Mfue Member of Parliament Maureen Mawonga, charging them with politically motivated cases of hate speech or seditious practices against the state. Mr. Lungu says this morning Christian Democratic Party President Dan Pule was arrested for similar charges. He also disclosed that former Patriotic Front Secretary General Davis Miller was appearing before Drug Enforcement Commission officers for unknown investigations. Mr. Lungu says that tomorrow his entire family will appear before DEC for investigations. He says his wife Esther Lungu, former First Lady, will appear at 12:30 hours, Chiesa Lungu at 10:30 hours, Tesila Lungu at 11:30 hours, and Charles Piri at 09:30 hours. And Mr. Lungu says that this is some scheme of silencing him. Meanwhile, former Senior District Commissioner Paradise Sakala has called on the church to be at the center stage of reconciling President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA and former President Lungu for the political tension to be curtailed. Mr. Sakala says that the church should not leave up to the two leaders to reconcile, because this will not come to pass. He says that the people look up to the church for social interventions. Therefore, they need to spearhead the reconciliation process so that the political sphere can stabilize in the country.
For example, there is tension, tribal tension,
yes,
right now. So what is it that the traditional authorities are saying?
Yeah.
They should also be drafted. When you just look at it from the perspective of the two, you are only looking at it from a political point of view. But how about the traditional point of view? Because if I was the president, he is no longer the president. The NHH will no longer be president.
Yes.
But the impact that they are being into power is playing into tribal lines. Therefore, the people that have been entrusted with authority be custodians of our cultural heritage, they should also be involved in bringing this peace. So if we see in that peace and reconciliation meeting where we have chiefs from the east, chiefs from the north, chiefs from southern province, I'm sure the church can bring up a solution to this. But as long as it's left for the two,
Patriotic Front Secretary General RAPHEAL NAKACHINDA has been granted bail pending appeal in the sum of 80,000 kwacha in his own recognizance with 2 working sureties. NAKACHINDA spent 12 days in the Lusaka Central Correctional Facility and he was released after meeting the bail conditions. Magistrate Irene Washimanga on May 17, 2024 convicted and sentenced NAKACHINDA to 18 months imprisonment with hard labor for defaming President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA. Earlier, NAKACHINDA had filed a notice of appeal in the Lusaka Magistrate Court stating that he was dissatisfied over the judgment delivered by the magistrate. The appellant, in an affidavit in support of summons for bail pending appeal, said the trial court erred in both law and fact by concluding that he did not legitimately criticize the president contrary to the evidence. In this matter, NAKACHINDA pleaded not guilty to the offense of defamation of the president contrary to Section 69 of the Penal Code, Chapter 87 of the Laws of Zambia. NAKACHINDA on December 13, 2021 in Lusaka with intent to bring the name of Mr. HICHILEMA into hatred, ridicule and contempt published a defamatory matter by word of mouth. NAKACHINDA, through his lawyers, said the trial court erred by convicting him against the weight of the NAKACHINDA had filed that court erred in both law and fact by failing to recognize that the words alleged in the charge sheet were inconsistent with the evidence presented and contextually flawed. And Mr. NAKACHINDA says that there is unfair justice prevailing in the country, but this will not shake him.
Even when you are comparing what one person has said against you, when you answer back, you are arrested. Yeah. Today, as we speak here, there are several members of parliament who have been arrested. There are several leaders of opposition who have been arrested. Edith Nawakwi is in detention. Brep Nachangala is in the cells. Maureen Mabonga is in the cells. Munia Zulu is in the cells. Dan Pule is in the cells. And all of you leaders of the Patriotic Front, all of you leaders of the opposition, I want to say to you, when you are called by the police, don't even hide. Go, run quickly and tell them, arrest me. Because the more we're being arrested, the more we're being vindicated. So don't fear arrest.
I am grateful for having been given the privilege to experience the 12 or so days in Chimbokaila prison. Prison has just also been very insightful for me, exposing the level of abuse of the justice system. And therefore, having been a prisoner of justice and a prisoner of democracy, Honorable Vice President, I am proud to have been there and see for myself that it's not only us politicians that are going through this. The system is loading prisons with people on flimsy grounds. Somebody has 20 cobs of maize and they are sentenced for 5 years. We have drivers who only contravened traffic rules. They are sent to prison for months. I think there is a lot of work that we have to do when we get back into government.
Chief Nkambo, the House of Chiefs chairperson, has urged Zambians to unite and focus on fighting poverty instead of dwelling on regionalism. The traditional leader says that poverty was Zambia's common enemy, which every citizen should strive to tackle and not expend energies at fighting each other on tribal lines. Chief Nkambo says that Zambians, irrespective of the region they hail from or political affiliation, should strive to remain united. The chief says that unity is not attained by mere talk, but working towards it by upholding peace. And Chief Nkambo says that once citizens are focused on fighting poverty and contributing to development, unity will be automatic. He urges political leaders to play their role of uniting the nation against divisions based on region. He says that Zambia is a beacon of peace not only in Africa but worldwide, and that heritage needs to be guarded jealously by every Zambian. Kitwe prominent clergyman Pastor Charles Chilisha has applauded creditors for their crucial support and endorsement of the scheme of arrangement that is set to facilitate the full takeover of Konkola copper mines by Vedanta Resources Limited. Following the successful creditors meeting held last week, the clergyman underscores the significance of the arrangement, highlighting the positive outcomes anticipated for the local community and the nation at large. He says that the overwhelming support and endorsement by creditors is a step towards economic revitalization and empowerment for workers, contractors, as well as suppliers. Pastor Chilisha acknowledges that the pressing needs for employment opportunities and expressed optimism that Vedanta will rejuvenate the operations at KCM.
I highly commend them for upholding the scheme of arrangement during the creditors meeting. Similarly, I urge the creditors, suppliers, contractors, as well as stakeholders who will meet during the second creditors meeting, which will happen or take place on the 30th of May 2024, to also uphold, endorse, and approve the scheme of arrangement so that Vendetta Resources can move in after these two consecutive creditors meetings, can move in and take over the full operations optimally of Konkola Copper Mines PLC. Thereby, we believe that after Vendetta Resources takes over the mining asset, they will resuscitate the operations technically as well as...
Meanwhile, Community Campaign Movement Coordinator Chishala Mwamba has expressed profound gratitude for the overwhelming support demonstrated by Class 1 creditors during the Creditors Scheme of Arrangement meeting. Mr. Mwamba says that supporting the scheme to return Vedanta guarantees benefits for all stakeholders, including contractors, suppliers, miners, and community members.
We hope for the 30th May scheme of arrangement meeting to be as successful as the one held on 25th May in order to save KCM. We are highly elated by the success of the 25th May creditors scheme of arrangement meeting. It indicates the strong confidence creditors have in Vedanta's commitment to serve all stakeholders appropriately. With this positive start and overwhelming support from Class 1 creditors, we earnestly hope that the meeting for Class 2 creditors on 30th May will have a similar outcome. Supporting the scheme guarantees benefits for all stakeholders, including contractors and suppliers, miners, and community members. With KCM not operational at the moment, our nation has witnessed a decline in copper production levels despite the current prevailing high copper prices. The people of KwaZulu province, especially in Chilomwe and Chingola, are tired of living in economically run-down environments with high crime rates, resulting from high unemployment.
Now, residents of Matero Township have called on the government to implement programs aimed at reducing the sale and consumption of illicit alcohol among the youth. Residents have voiced concerns over their children, particularly high school pupils, fearing they might go astray due to the easy availability of the illicit alcohol. They, however, note that the recent hike in alcohol prices has helped deter youths from excessive drinking, which they see as a positive development. And the residents have asked government to continue with the program of recruiting youths in Zambia National Service in order to reduce disorderly among the youths. More in the following report by Mavis Musonda.
It is a mandate and responsibility of every parent to prioritize the well-being of their children. Consequently, parents and some residents of Matero have expressed concern about the overconsumption of illicit alcohol among youths in their community. In this regard, the residents have called on government to introduce initiatives aimed at reducing the sale and consumption of illicit alcohol among youths, believing that such measures will deter young people from staying in the community and turning to drinking, theft, and other related activities for survival.
Bambiri bana banasiza maskulu muno mu Lusaka mu Zambia actually balina benango banapasa na points ya bulu but sibaenda ku skulu nchito bachita concentrate kumoba monga tujirijiri, then at the end of the day bapoka abantu mafoni chifuka cha kuti bali bebo chita nchito ni moba mayusi bamakuwa bakura mani.
However, they have observed that the recent increase in alcohol prices has helped reduce excessive drinking among youths, which they view as a positive development.
Kama wakati ni kuacha kaja first week afa kamutumbolo mbaga aenda kuskulu manje sisi bose vijabankala hai so wale pela wafata andi futi apa tujirijiri stupezeka akapezeka ka box peza kapani 380 400 kwacha. So manje kuti waja ma retailers kuti bagule wale pera azapeza profit yakupezeka kulipa so iliche mushi.
Mavis Msonda reporting for Millennium TV.
Thank you, Mavis, for that report. And that ends our local stories. We now take a break. We have more coming up in international and sports news. Stay tuned.
Chelsea cookies, delicious cookies, the secret recipe to happiness. A little bit of chocolate for moments you won't forget to make your masterpiece of tastiness. A little bit of butter makes life better, for memories to bring you happiness. And for you, Mr. Healthy, I have something nice and OT to keep you going nice and strong. Chelsea cookies, delicious cookies, baking delicious memories. Chelsea cookies, tasty cookies, baking delicious memories.
Trade Kings, improving lives.
Welcome back. In international news, South Africans began voting Wednesday in an election seen as their country's most important in 30 years and one that could put the young democracy in unknown territory. At stake is the three-decade dominance of the African National Congress Party, which led South Africa out of apartheid's brutal white minority rule in 1994. It is now the target of a new generation of discontent in a country of 62 million people, half of whom are estimated to be living in poverty. Africa's most advanced economy has some of the world's deepest socio-economic problems, including one of the worst unemployment rates at 32%. The lingering inequality with poverty and joblessness disproportionately affecting the black majority threatens to unseat the party that promised to end it by bringing down apathy under the slogan of a better life for all. After winning 6 successive national elections, several polls have the NC's support at less than 50% ahead of this one, an unprecedented drop. It might lose its majority in parliament for the first time, although it's widely expected to hold the most seats.
South Africans began voting Wednesday in an election seen as their country's most important in 30 years. In Cape Town, people began lining up outside polling stations shortly before dawn. Polls opened at 7 a.m. local time, with 27 million registered voters called to elect a new parliament, which then chooses a president. South Africans will also vote for provincial legislatures. At stake is the dominance of the ruling African National Congress, which has held power since the end of white minority rule in 1994. Opinion polls have indicated that the ANC will garner less than 50% of the vote, in which case it will need the support of smaller parties to form a governing coalition. Many in the country are fed up with high unemployment, rampant crime, corruption scandals, and regular power cuts and water shortages. Final vote results are not expected before the weekend.
Now on sports news, Chipolopolo legend Rainford KALABA this afternoon met with Football Association of Zambia FAS President Andrew Kamanga, where they discussed various issues on Zambia's football fraternity. KALABA, who is currently on the mend, was in the company of Clifford Mlenga, his fellow legend turned FAS Youth Development Officer. The 2012 AFCON winner updated Kamanga on his post-playing activities that include his taking up a CAF C license course. After the meeting, the Chipolopolo legend was gifted with copper gear as part of celebrating his legendary status. And that sporting item ends our main news this evening. But before we go, we take a look at stories making headlines once again. President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA boasts of Zambia being a land-linked country. FRA buys over 40,000 bags of white maize in this crop marketing season. Poultry Association of Zambia predicts raise of feed prices. And former President EDGAR LUNGU bemoans Zambia's political atmosphere, and Patriotic Front Secretary General RAPHEAL NAKACHINDA has been granted bail. In international news, polls open in South Africa's high-stakes election. And in sports, KALABA confers with FAS chief. You have been watching the Millennium TV main news, read by Lovisa Chilufia. Thank you so much for staying with us. On behalf of the entire news crew, it was a lovely evening and good night.